Three, two, one. Hey, folks, welcome back to the Shadow Zone, the Nerdcast with Dakota, my new co-host of all things. How
Oh, hey,
you been, buddy?
uh, I've been doing all right. You?
I just got back from a goth night, from a Comic Con at the mall. It was goth as fuck. Talked to a few fancy writers. Talked to a few local comic book writers. There's one guy who's selling some straight up like 1980s cyberpunk snuff books.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not shitting you. And all respect to that guy. I mean, that genre of like sci-fi, like edgelord, like sort of like cyberpunk weird space shit. That's my era. Okay, I was born in the wrong fucking decade. All right, I was born in the wrong fucking decade. I would have been a perfect '90s edgelord.
Yeah.
I would have been. Instead, we live in this woke fucking SJW hellscape that is Marne, Wisconsin. Fucking hate it.
You and me both.
What?
You and me both. Good ideas friggin' brought to the ground by people who don't want to actually put in the effort.
Yeah, I always say this. I'm a progressive centrist. Like, I'm progressive in the right ways.
Yeah.
But I really think the social progress we're on our way towards. I mean, we're a liberal democracy. America has been one of the greatest, like, places of cultural and societal human progress for, like, the last 70 years. We've done some really cool shit. And Western civilization copies, like, all the greats, Dr. King, Hollywood. People don't realize this, but American liberalism has changed the world for the better. Okay, hot take. Until it got co-opted by some really asshole college professors around the right after 2012. Hot take.
Um, I think it goes back a lot before 2012,
That's when it really started getting started.
but yeah, I think that's where the actual like good forward-thinking progress got hijacked,
And I'm not saying there aren't good progressives
or at
out
least
there
got
who are
noticed.
fighting the good fight. I'm not saying there aren't good progressives out there fighting the good fight and doing the right things.
Oh yeah, neither am I. There's a lot of good people out there that are just trying to make the world a better place,
Yeah,
but
and most of them work in the
people take
ground.
advantage of that.
Yeah, most of them work on grassroots or at the ground level. Yeah. All right, so
Yeah.
this isn't a political podcast, although you and me can talk about how much we hate woke all day long, and woke will be part of this.
Oh, gee. That we could.
But we're talking about our newest project for this channel and our online presence. My and
That
so
we
folks,
are.
yes, we are talking about the new this new project I'm working online in my local area called I was wondering what names for it. I think the last one I came up with was God, what was the name of it? Well, I'm working on a project, a role-playing support group, online and in person, through LARPing, through D&D, through online role-playing games, on Discord, whatever, any space me and my friends are in, or if you want, or if anyone wants to join, where we use role-playing games as a form of group therapy and building community. And I've been
Huh.
doing this. I've been working on this even before decided to make it an official. Even before I came up with this idea, I was like, during the pandemic. Even after the pandemic, I was using D&D, whether that be on ESO or freaking uh online MMOs or like D&D in person, whatever, to help my friends out with their issues. Help people out and find a sense of community and heal from their issues.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I'm a modern day heavy metal Tolkien, all right? Fuck yeah. And I
Yeah, and I think that all that's freaking fantastic, to be honest.
yeah, I mean,
Because more people need to, people understate and don't realize how therapeutic being in an RPG can be.
especially if it's group, okay?
Oh, especially with this group.
What's that analogy you made about reality and MMOs? Our reality and MMOs to share with the crowd?
Ah, reality, MMOs. Oh. Yeah, life is essentially one giant MMORPG, and it sucked.
It's the worst one in the multiverse.
Yep.
How do you feel about the simulation theory? Are you down with it or are you not down with it?
Um,
I have mixed feelings
the
about
thing
it.
with simulation theory is it's still at a 50-50 shot.
Yeah, didn't Mike Tyson, like, I think it's Mike Tyson, right? No, it's something Tyson. Neil
Mm,
deGrasse Tyson. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Why do I keep
yes.
unironically living in that episode of Mike Tyson's Mysteries? Why? That's a good episode, by the way. But seriously, yeah, reality is a giant virtual reality game according to like Neil deGrasse Tyson was weird. He kind of says kind of a thing, kind of not a thing. I don't know how I feel about it. I personally don't believe in it, but I'm not going to disprove it.
Yeah.
You know what's really cool? You remember Seals, Mark Seals, my science fiction fantasy professor from UW Baraboo? Dude, we would just spend
Yes,
like
I do.
entire class sessions talking about metaphysics from a sci-fi nerd perspective. Oh
Oh,
god.
really?
Yeah, you know what? We would talk about V for Vendetta. We would talk about Doctor Who, alien evolution, human evolution. What is human? Like, I got so many nerdy, like, they were deep nerdy conversations, and it's ironic. The class I took in SEALs really paved the way for the kind of career I have right now, you know? Doing nerdy
Yeah.
journalism, talking about nerd shit on YouTube, and I just love those conversations. My 20s have been spent playing video games, playing D&D, going LARPing, going to metal shows, talking about nerdy metaphysics with my friends. And it's been a really good 20s, man.
Poison twists in my innards. Changing magazine.
But no, Seals
That actually sounds a lot better than some people's 20s.
I mean, would you rather have a 20s where you're just having nerdy, weird, fucked up adventures like an autistic weirdo, or just getting drunk and fucking every night? I would rather take the nerdy one, but I mean, I wouldn't mind some fucking every night. That's not easy.
Yeah.
You know, it's not an either or, but you know, I'd rather the majority spend doing the nerd shit over like the mindless debauchery, but you know, there's a place for both. Yeah. No, seriously, Seals and me would just talk for like how we would all talk about for hours about nerd shit and like science fiction and fantasy. You know, there's a student in our class who said when Seals asked, what can we prove one way or the other if we are in a virtual simulation? One student said, I can't prove it either way. I don't care. I'm gonna live my reality the way I live.
Share my reflections, but I have
Regardless if it's quote unquote fake or not.
That is considerable. Noted.
How do you feel about that
I
one?
mean, that's the way that everybody should live. You only get one life.
Yeah, unless you're Buddhist, then you believe in reincarnation.
Yeah, but the thing about reincarnation that people don't remember is
You don't remember.
Manco's soup, which is at the bridge that you cross over.
Yeah.
So the reason why people don't remember their memories in reincarnation, according to some ancient Chinese mythology, has to do with a soup from a figure called Manco.
Yeah.
And she is essentially the gatekeeper of the bridge that you have to cross to be able to reincarnate.
Okay. Now, I really like Buddhist and like Tibetan Chinese mythology. Keep going. I want to hear more about this.
We're going into my jam with the Netherworld now. So the Netherworld, and okay, it might actually still be considered modern day mythology, but in some of the ancient Chinese mythology that I am aware of and familiar with, here is the presence of a figure, right? You know, Meng-Po. She's in the underworld, okay, and she is the one who basically determines whether or not you can cross the bridge and reincarnate.
Yeah.
With that being said, part of that's because the world's divided into 3 different levels. You have heaven, or the heavens, plural,
Yeah.
because you have different tiers there. You have the netherworld with its varying levels. And then In between that
This is renewed.
is Middle Earth.
That's awesome.
Middle Earth is from ancient Chinese mythology, I do believe, because
Tolkien
it's
stole the name
literally
Middle Earth from the
Middle
Chinese.
Earth. No, I don't know if that's actually a coincidence or not, to be honest. But Middle Earth has been very present in Chinese mythology, or sometimes called the Earthly Realm.
Changing magazine.
And aren't
Friggin-
dragons like demi-beast in like Chinese mythology? They're like heavenly beasts.
Oh, jeez.
Because I know there's like a myth of
You've
dragon.
got, well, technically reused, not dragons, reused.
Yeah,
But
Chinese dragon.
they're you could call them a form of dragon. You've got every possible element of dragon, from shadow, fire, water, earth.
Yeah, and they were like demon beasts, like in like Christian and like Greco-Roman mythology. They were like,
Keeping my brothers alive is the only honor I
Dragons were respected.
yeah,
They're like top tier. You don't mess with them. Then there's the phoenixes.
yeah, they're like divine. Chinese had like a weird take that they were like divine beasts, divine demi beasts or some shit like that, right? With their like evil avatars and shit.
Brothers, extend a hand.
I haven't gotten a whole lot. I really haven't dug into the animal avatar stuff, to be honest.
Yeah. Sorry, I just,
You do have a whole bunch of other different mythological creatures, like the Kirin. You've got some demons. You've got
Mara.
the undead. You've got the black and white messengers.
Yeah.
You actually have the Nether World King, right? Okay, so like the ruler of the Nether World. And you can serve him for 100 years and stuff. The thing about China, unlike anywhere else in the world, not only is it actually fairly large, it's also real.
I mean, China's one of the
So there's
longest. China's one of the oldest continuous cultures on the planet, right?
Fresh magazine in.
Like they were ancient. They were like ancient. They were a civilization before Egypt was born. If I'm wrong.
So, for all the Bible nerds out there, and all the Greco-Roman nerds out there, anytime you hear about silk prior to like the 16 or 1700s,
Yeah.
it's straight from China. Like, people don't realize the amount of interaction in the trade network that China had. They also had a lot of spices.
Yeah. As far back as the Persian Empire, there was trade with this shit. You know.
Yeah, they were the first seafaring civilization, or at least that we know of.
Yeah. When the actual
The
name.
records go back to the original founding and unification of the 13 kingdoms
Yeah.
that now make up modern China.
Yeah. When was the first Chinese dynasty founded? Like, in compare, what like era of Western history was this like synonymous with? Like, is the Chinese civilization older than Rome?
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me. Changing topics here back to nerd school. You know Warhammer Fantasy?
Yeah.
You know how Warhammer Fantasy, the entire world is pretty much just a fantasy fill-in for like, it's like a fancy heavy metal fill-in for actual Earth, mid-ancient Earth. Like the Empire Man, the main like imperial faction of humans in Warhammer Fantasy, that's straight up the Holy Roman Empire. Except they have dwarves and halfling militias and knights with riding griffins and shit. The Empire Man is literally fantasy Dark Age Holy Roman Empire with guns and magic and shit. So weirdly enough, even all the continents and the cultures and the countries are literally fill-ins for like actual cultures that existed on like medieval Earth, you know?
Yeah.
Let me give an example. I mean, there's literally the continents even look almost exactly like Earth from Earth, like Europe and Asia and shit. There's literally an ancient empire called the Grand Empire of Kitai, which is literally a Chinese villain. It's ruled by dragon emperors. Actual dragon emperors.
Dang, that's freaking hardcore.
No, dude, it's Warhammer. What do you expect? And once again, there's even like a Bretonia, which is like a mix of medieval France and medieval England. The nobles have French accents, and the common peasants have like British accents. I hate that. I fucking hate that.
Like French. Why French?
Dude, I hate the French. You kidding me? I fucking hate the French.
I mean, I get some people think that they sound romantic or something like that.
They're just stuck-up assholes. They're the most stuck-up country in all of Europe.
Source additional war here.
Yeah, the cat.
Oh, you wanted to know something what's really cool about Warhammer Fantasy? You know what ones that some of the non-human races are? There is the dwarves, of course, and the dwarves and the elves hate each other.
Naturally, as expected.
The elves rule Atlantis. Literally, the elves are a maritime Atlantean empire. They ride dragons. They have massive fleets. They have phoenixes. All sorts of... It's like the Elven homeland is like a weird mix of like Narnia, but with like Middle Earth. Everything's sentient. Everything's alive. Everything is part of the Elven Empire. And you can even, like, in the books, like, there's really... Every wild animal comes to defense the Elven homeland when it's invaded by chaos. From lions, tigers, bears, all that shit, talking treemen. It's Narnia as fucking hell. Every Jesus freak Narnia fan who grew out that phase, but somehow found themselves in a Warhammer will, okay? And then there's the Dark Elves, which are literally slaver empire, or really Elven... Imagine, like, Elven Corsairs and, like, an entire pirate empire. Like, an empire of pirate slavers that rides hydras, wyverns, dark dragons, and all that shit into battle. They have armies of slaves. And they, live in North America. In Arctic North America. How do you feel about this fantasy universe? They literally live in Ice Age North America in a fantasy world.
Ready. Almost prepared, Captain.
There's a reason I love it.
Lifetime in patience.
Go ahead, I want to hear what you feel about that.
Join the Imperial Guard defenses upon the bridge and learn that seals
That certainly casts a new light onto the whole universe of Warhammer right there.
Yeah, I mean, look, Warhammer is brutal. It's fucking brutality. It's max. So.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah, what's your take on Warhammer? You ever played it?
I have not, aside from some of the video games.
What have you played? What games have you played?
I've played 40K, what was it? Something Tide.
Darktide?
Yes.
Darktide was okay. I didn't mind it.
Swapping magazine.
I personally think
Those are...
yeah.
I just got into the tutorial for Space Marines 2.
What do you think? What do you think?
Changing magazine.
I don't know yet. So far, the combat seems like certain things that I've dealt with before, and that have annoyed me with other video games in the past, but so far, it's a bit of an adrenaline rush.
I know, right? First time I played it, I was high as fuck. Great experience. Yeah, but moving back to the D&D project I got going on. So aside from that window dressing we talked about, but sorry, we're autistic nerds. Sorry about that. And Dakota, you're totally Rogel Dorn, by the way. You are literally Rogel Dorn.
For those who don't know, we should probably explain that.
You're an autistic, superhuman demigod who's obsessed with urban construction and maintaining the infrastructure of a galaxy-wide empire. Yeah.
I'm a builder. Those are the games I generally play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that tracks.
Yeah.
That tracks actually a lot.
Such illustrious
And I'm
company
totally
in the-
fulcrum.
We've got a
You know
handle
who
on
my
these
favorite
probing
Primarch
strikes, my
is?
lords. It's the
Logar.
relay that's
He was an
getting
emo
hammered right
choir
now.
boy Primarch that
Our
got who
target
was
is a hive
freaking
tyrant.
who fell in
Once
love
we
with the
kill it, the
divinity of the
relay will be
gods.
secure.
And demons
That's
started whispering in his ears, and they
news.
turned him into a demonic priest
Without
who
armor
corrupted all the
support
other
to
space
tackle a
marines.
target that big, we may have to bring down the supply bridge.
Our plan requires it.
Is that track?
This is a withdrawal
Considering you know
order.
about me?
Negative. The objective is the hive tyrant,
That
not
does
the bridge.
track.
Yeah.
Defend this
So
position
getting back to
until
our
the Tyrant
fantasy
command
series,
unit is executed.
so going forward, I am setting up a
Understood, my
Patreon
lord.
for this,
May the
well,
Emperor
online
guide our
endeavor of
last
mine.
guns
This
to your
endeavor where I'm committing all my social media, all my content creation, all my spare time into bringing D&D campaigns, online stuff, like everything I can do, whether it be an online MMO, on Discord, bring an online space where people can feel comfortable, roleplay, play D&D, roll 20, play MMOs, bring a Discord space for this, doing LARPing, and just creating content to help people in forming communities,
The hive
to help them
tyrant
deal
is
with
on its
their issues.
way, but it is a horde of Xenos between you and
Using
it.
social media for what it's meant to
For the
be
long
made
haul,
for, you
you
know?
have its attention. It is moving to
Yeah.
intercept.
What's your take?
Apply
And
more
which would
pressure.
be part of this endeavor?
You know, I'm gonna say I would like to, but I gotta see what all I gotta do.
Yeah.
Outside of this, I do have my job and certain responsibilities as
Yeah,
we both
adulting,
know.
I
I've
get
got
it.
three amazing
Adulting, yeah.
nephews, my
I get
guys.
it.
But yeah, adulting, and again, I have three amazing nephews. They're super smart, and I would really love to introduce them to D&D at some point.
Alright. We will.
So
Yeah, it's all good. I mean, good for you being a good uncle.
Keep your eyes peeled.
Most uncles I know.
The Xenos leader beast will be in visual range
Those
shortly.
kids.
Remain stalwart, brothers.
Seriously, you want to tell us about this? So I'm gonna explain my newest D&D campaign series that you'll be playing in on Roll20 pretty soon. It will kind of be the flagship project of this new sort of online presence. So there's this team. So if you're familiar with my World of Foreign, you've probably seen a lot of my videos across my YouTube channel. They're all there for people to see, by the way.
yep,
Yeah, so Foreign
I
is
really
blown
recommend
up.
people to
The
go and
world
take a look
blew
at
up.
them because they're fantastic.
Yeah, and what do you think about the military warplay in that? Does that make track with you, like your sense of D&D? Like having military battles using a D20 system?
Not dead.
How do you feel about that one?
Titus, can you elaborate?
In all honesty, I think that's your particular special flavor of D&D. As we both know with homebrew stuff, everybody gets their own special flavor, and I like it.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Confirm the
I
lieutenant's
like it because it
assessment.
genuinely adds another dynamic
Still
that
in full
people
effect.
aren't
That
usually
beast is not
expecting.
yet dead.
Yeah,
Most
because
of the time, they're thinking murder
Sounds
hobo.
like we have
I
a
want to
hunt,
mix
brothers.
the roleplay of D&D 5e with the Warhammer, the
Keep the
mechanics of
sword
war,
off your backs
the
while you
military
hunt that
warplay
thing.
from Warhammer Fantasy, if that tracks. You know, I wanted to mix the two together. Some people call it lazy, some people really like it. It's depending what your flavor is of D&D. And you know what? Here's the thing that this is my advice to every DM out there.
We must
especially the new
assemble here.
ones. As long as your entire party is having fun,
No telling
who
what
the fuck
surprises
cares
await.
if you're following the rules, you know? To the T, you know?
Yeah, friggin'. If everybody's having a blast and it's mostly D&D,
It is
being a
over
role
there,
stickler,
brothers,
that's not for
attempting to
everyone.
claw free.
Actually, a lot of people I don't think like that because it does,
Limit.
in my opinion, it detracts from the actual like role-playing part of D&D. Because then you gotta focus on math and min-maxes and
Yeah.
dice.
You know what's ironic? I'm also so this D&D. There's two main tabletop RPGs I'll be investing in the next couple of years, 2 years probably. One will be my D&D world, my classic D&D world, which hot take: the world blew up because demonic apocalypse, dark gods destroyed the planet. The rest of the planet turned into continent-sized civilizations that now have magical technology, wage trading wars against one another, resources. So the planet blew up. The magical ether in the planet's core is now creating like a magical ocean around the planet, the continent-sized civilization. And now the Tark Empire, the Bristol Commonwealth, and the Vingari Horde have evolved technologically and are waging a faction war for alien ruins found amongst the ruins of the planet. And they're fighting over all the magical like ether juice in the star ocean around them. So it's my newest.
I'm getting some real Treasure Planet vibes here.
Yeah, it's kind of like a mix of Age of Sigmar with Treasure Planet. Yeah.
Your pace is adequate.
With a lot of anime shit going on. It's like One Piece in space. Yeah, it's my newest setting I'm working on. It's kind of like Age of Sigmar, Warhammer Fantasy in comparison. But I'm also working on a 40k role-playing series pretty soon too, if I get enough players.
Oh?
Yeah, well the concept is pretty much this. The Imperial outlaw planet on the edge of the galaxy where the Imperial law is so thin. Humans, aliens, Xenos, and heretics all run around this giant hellscape, a giant high city world. Full of gangs, mutants, heretics, and you, the players, are a mixed bag of that form militia that fight against the heretics and keep the order in this lawless city world. Then the Tyranids come and shit hits the fan. That's all in the review. What do you think about that one?
That certainly sounds like it's going to be a fun 40k adventure.
You know what's really cool about the concept of it? The whole point of this campaign is it's going to be Xenos and humans, like characters of various backgrounds, various factions, like Imperial Guard, freaking Sister Battle, all these various people from factions and empires that hate each other. Orcs, humans, the various human halflings, and like, get this about 40k. There are literally space fascist hobbit snipers in 40k in the Imperium of Man.
Wait, what?
There's space hobbit snipers in 40k.
The Hive Tyrant continues to evade.
They're a human offshoot. They're a human subspecies.
Space Hobbit snipers.
Yes.
Signal negligible. Jamming, most likely.
And space dwarves.
Forward.
Space dwarves makes sense. Space hobbits that are snipers.
They're human offshoots. They're like human subspecies. And they're human enough that the Imperium tolerates their existence. How metal is that?
Yeah.
And that's why I love 40k over Star Wars. That's why I love 40k over Star Wars.
Understandably so.
I mean, especially
Although Star Wars has
Good.
some other stuff going on with it, especially now in the break from canon.
Yeah, I don't tolerate canon. And weirdly enough, though, I did mix the Mandoverse with Legends in a Star Wars role-playing series I was running last year. It was like Mando mixed with Legends, and I was able to synchronize the two of them pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but once again, it would take place in like a year after the Battle of Endor. So it was in those early years of the New Republic era, it's easy to kind of synchronize the two together.
Squad, rally on my signal.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, one of my characters in
Sure,
Noah
I can.
literally became a Dark Jedi General Grievous. He betrayed the party, he worked for the Empire. Then he betrayed the Sith, the Sith, and the Empire. He blew up the Imperial cruisers on. The Sith resurrected him and turned him into a General Grievous and raised him to thank you, Brian. Yeah, I'm a genius. People in the D&D club do not realize my performance, alright? Most of them are obsessed with turning their D&D campaigns into like social commentary about capitalism and all that shit. I'm like, dude, I'm just here to tell Conan heavy metal like D&D fantasy, okay? I don't need all this balls and galas and fucking. And that's my issue with the new D&D edition. If you're familiar with a lot of shit it's been getting, you're familiar with how they turned orcs into fantasy Latinos, right?
You mean how they made orcs pink skin?
Yeah, and now they don't even look like orcs. They look like generic Latinos from like some sort of show in Comedy Central. They look like woke Latinos on a woke Comedy Central show with orc features.
I heard about that. I haven't looked too much. The art I saw made it smaller, shorter orcs that are weaker with pink skin.
I hate it. I hate that. I fucking hate that. Look, I'm not saying orcs have to be evil. I'm not saying that, you know? Like, orcs, you can have, like, noble warrior orcs. But the point is, orcs are meant to be a warrior shaman people at best, and evil demonic slaves at worst, you know?
They're supposed to be a tribal people that value strength as part of their society because they're a tribal people who don't live in human cities.
And of course, like,
they gotta deal with stuff out on their own.
Warcraft, okay, World of Warcraft did an amazing job of, like, recontextualizing orc culture in its games. Okay, that is something I will give Blizzard. They made them. Orcs are my favorite race of Warcraft.
That was fantastic, especially with the movie backing up orc backstory and the reason why they're green skin.
And then there's like the demon, like,
dude.
I know, right? Orcs are, although I will say demonic orcs being demonic slaves is pretty much that makes sense. Orcs,
I mean,
in my world, like, orcs tend to be demonic slaves. Like, the Bulgari Horde is straight up like a horde of the still enslaved demons from the Burning Legion.
Yeah.
Like, the orcs in my world, they're straight up. The Bulgari Horde in general is, for the most part, like a very much more version of the orc from Warcraft. There's some tribes that are like splinter factions, but most orcs and the Bulgari Horde in general are slaves to the demonic gods. And that's just how I write my stories. The main enemy faction in my world is the Dark Gods and their followers across the Dark Gods and the Gods of Light wage a never-ending war against each other. And eventually they destroy numerous universes in the process. Then the gods, the Seven Divines, and the Dark Gods started that fight. We will no longer fight amongst ourselves. Now we will create entire races and civilizations and make it work for us to fight our battles. How do you feel about that?
Well, as someone who has a main as an orc monk, I'm aware of that, and that's something that actually does. It makes too much sense, which is the problem.
Yeah. Well, I kind of got the idea from the data or the Aether of Elder Scrolls. Tell us about your orc character that you'll be playing as in the new D&D series.
Yes. Greg Stonefist, the Grey Monk. The Grant was nice enough to let me make some really nice background for Greg. To summarize, I was able to create a continent, my own continent that sits out in the void, and think like a mix of like Western Washington and then Eastern Washington, with the Rockies dividing them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where shall I plant
But
this flat?
also with rocks on the other side of the continent, where it's sheer mountains against the coast, and then the other side has a nice coastal plain.
Right.
Humans live on the coastal plain. Very mystical place, Kazarant. I was very inspired by Tibet and the Tibetan Buddhist monks for him, and the sanctuary there, the Monastery of Sacred Breath, and Zenithism. Because yes, creating a whole religion for D&D is amazing and fun.
I know, dude. I'm talking with the ambient. Keep going. It's fun. It's fun.
It's I went on a deep dive. I've got like 12 pages of freaking lore.
You fucking nerd. You're an anthropology
Dude,
nerd. Of course you would love D&D.
I've got going in. Oh, you don't even know. Friggin' made 3 texts. Legitimate texts that are used as mantras.
So tell us
Oh,
more
God.
about your orc and his culture and his religion. Tell us more about that.
So, most people are going to sit here and kind of question, why an orc monk? Shouldn't he be a barbarian? Or a warrior?
Yeah.
Or a fighter, even? Well, when you have one of the only 2 tribes, at least that we know of at this point, that isolated themselves from the Horde and just kind of dirked off in their own place.
And don't worship Tiamat or the
Yeah. And then they get influenced by a local, what is essentially a ridiculously powerful Buddhist monastery.
Yeah.
That happens to be the actual dividing line between the 2 orc tribes in the inner plain and inner foothills and the human settlement on the coastal plain that's actually habitable.
Yeah.
So we've got that. Specifically, his group are the Ash Orcs, gray skin, hence gray monk. Most people will see a reference to the D&D mountain orcs, right?
Yeah.
They lived longer than normal orcs, and they have gray skin, different from the green skin. Yes, there are actual... Well, yeah, they were green skin at one point.
Right.
I'm not even going to go into those guys, because they're just wandering in the inner planes, and they become multiple tribes.
Yeah.
I'm kind of spinning my take on orcs. I mean, Yurek's 8'2", and he's got the brawn to match the height.
Okay.
Okay. And unlike all the, like, we're talking super tribal and full contact, full force sparring from a young age in his tribe.
Okay.
I mean, they live in the mountains. What do you expect? They got to be strong.
Is your religion a pacifist or like Shaolin monk sort of thing, or is this like a what monk martial arts did you take inspiration from here? And what style of flavor Buddhist did you take inspiration from? He's not a pacifist. Of course, he's not a pacifist. He's gonna be in my game, but.
Oh, no, he's 100% not a pacifist. And that's kind of the hard balance between being any sort of monk versus also having to pull part-time warrior duty.
Yeah.
Because there are very big creatures on the continent that you do not want to fuck with.
Yeah.
Very old ones, too.
Nice.
So his tribe is built around a warrior sense, around a combat sense. The wonders of the Indian inner plains. So those tribes, think Crow or Kickapoo.
Okay.
But also kind of a weird mix of some of our Southwest Native American folks, like the Navajo, Apache, and Comanche. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got these guys. They wander around. They count coup kind of stuff. They're not necessarily out to kill each other. It's always a fight over resources, right?
Yeah.
And then you have this monastery pop up out of nowhere that also values strength, but also practices the mystical arts. And while yes, they are generally non-combative, you don't want to test their tolerance or patience.
I mean, that reminds me of the Shaolin monks, I believe, if that's a real thing.
So the Shaolin monks are a real thing. They're a very real thing. Their martial arts are amazing.
Yeah.
And that's where I actually drew inspiration for the martial arts that Gurek uses. as well as some of the different clothing and religious bits and stuff.
Damnable roach.
Like for anyone that wants to look it up, he has a set of Soda Kote. I probably butchered the pronunciation of that, but it's basically a full pauldron down combat oriented gauntlet.
Yeah.
Or half gauntlet.
Break them.
Yeah. So what's your character like? And I take it he is steadfast in his commitment to the code of life, the code of the monks.
You could call it the Code of the Monks, and yes, he is. Very committed to that.
Yeah. And once again, he's not a
So
cleric.
my door is not staying shut like it's supposed to at the moment.
No, the first
So because of the whole continent and how it works, everybody there lives somewhat longer lives.
Yeah.
And the process of studying the mysticism, the monks are old. Old.
Right.
Like ancient myths about monks cultivating and cultivator.
Right.
I also took some stuff from cultivation myths or Jianjia out of China,
Right.
which is essentially increasing one's lifespan.
Yeah, and you're aware that orcs have a very short lifespan naturally, correct?
Yes.
How'd you work that?
Why do you think I had to jump through hoops?
So I take it your character's lifespan is going to be longer than the average human, quite longer than the average human, but it's going to be way longer than the average orc.
Excellent.
Oh, way longer than the average orc. Most of your orcs are what?
20, 30.
They're usually like
30 is
maybe
like their
30,
90.
50 is like the world record. The mountain orcs get up to 70.
Yeah, if they're lucky. Orcs. I think the average orc only lives.
Very short-lived.
Yeah, even by like human standards.
They also mature extremely quickly.
Right.
On my way.
So I had to get around that. First, having a genetic mutation, and also having had long-term exposure to the increased magic that is in Kazaranth, which is why the Monastery of Sacred Breath exists,
Right.
and how they're able to do what they do. Has essentially artificially lengthened the lifespan of everyone there, including humans. You know, now normal humans, like 300 years, that makes sense. Orcs live like 200 for your plains orcs. The ones with the more in the mountains tend to, it varies too much for them, actually, because
Right.
mountains are dangerous.
Right.
But friggin' the monastery, your monks at the monastery, and mind you, it's not all men. There are women, and there are men, monks, separated. There's nuns and monks.
Right.
It's not uncommon for them to reach 700.
Right.
So now we have a genetic mutation that already, well, now he has a longer lifespan than the normal Ash Orc.
Right.
And now he's also got this cultivation stuff where theoretically he could live forever.
Jesus
Theoretically.
Christ, dude. You are Rogel Dorn. You are fucking Rogel Dorn.
Friggin', yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I pulled some stuff out of nowhere to make that work. Ugh.
Yeah.
That was a challenge to overcome.
So, what are your mannerisms gonna be like? What's your core values, and what are you gonna play like role playing like as?
Oh, how do I? Mannerism wise, he's quiet. He'd rather read, meditate. Doesn't speak unless he needs to, or it's or somebody for some reason needs his input on something, or something's extremely
Right.
stupid for people to be doing.
Right.
Uh, just kind of that tall, quiet giant of an existence that obviously we know racism's a thing in D&D. Nobody likes orcs.
Yeah, well, my world especially.
But he's at the point where
My world
he may get
especially.
confused with the herdsman.
Racism is a huge part of my D&D world. Especially if you're a filthy
Yeah, now
furry.
imagine an 8'2" motherfucker of an orc with some massive muscles that are the size of a friggin' 5-gallon bucket
What will you do
just
with the
rolling up
furries?
in front of you.
How will your character interact with the furry people of my world? The furries.
Oh, God. Which ones are we talking about specifically?
Like, think like the
Some
furries
of them might be
from,
faster.
think like the fur creatures, the furries from like, you know, the Flash Gits, Warhammer 40k, Space Marines versus furries. Yeah, the furries from the Flash from the 40k like
Sort of fight.
40k series. Which, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just look it up. Look it up.
I'll have to look at that one to figure out the interaction
They're
more.
literally flesh merchants. They're literally flesh merchants and drug dealers, and they say ooh woo a lot. They're mostly for comedic effect. And to show how much I hate furries.
Over here.
But who doesn't hate furries?
Understandably so.
Who doesn't hate furries?
I mean,
They're not all bad, but most of
I
them.
don't know who... There's a lot of debauchery in their community.
Yeah, you know what's ironic?
Like, a lot.
You know what's ironic about furries? There's more people in the furry degenerate Reddit, like the furry sex Reddit, than there are actual furries on the actual furry Reddit, the official furry Reddit. I'm not shitting you on that one, dude.
Onward.
I'm not a furry, I'm just a fae. Alright? I sexually identify as an elf, I'm not gonna lie.
That also tracks. That tracks for you. God, I don't know.
Yeah,
Wait,
but
really? Going back to that, so there's more debauchery people in the debaucherous furry Reddit than the official one.
yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it's fucked. It's fucked.
That's totally,
And they act like they're
yeah.
they act like they're a persecuted minority, more so than any other group in the LGBT. Even most LGBT people I'm friends with hate them. All right.
Oh, I know too many people that hate them because there's too much negative stuff attached to them.
And
Doesn't do them any favors.
Yeah. But getting back
They need a
to
clean
the
house.
in my D&D world, they're literally the flesh merchants and the drug dealers.
Oh, okay, well, I know how to deal with them. If I see them doing that kind of stuff, it's kill on sight.
You intolerant motherfucker! How you dare you mock my people?
Moving.
They're flesh merchants. Monks don't like debauchery as it is.
Even Buddhist monks?
Now you're doing something that harms other people. So now I have a reason to do something. Like that's the whole thing. Seriously though. Neither of us likes furries. For the record.
Yeah.
Neither of us likes furries.
I mean, if a very attractive, like, woman furry wanted to sleep with me, I wouldn't say no, but, still.
That's not the go-to for you.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna have sex as a furry. I'm not gonna do that shit. That's the one thing I don't do. But no, into the D&D world. So is your character based off Teal'c by any? Is your character based off Teal'c? Was your character inspired by Teal'c?
So, I actually get to explain some stuff with that, because God, do I love some Star Trek lore.
Okay.
He's based off a mix of Teal'c, Ronin, and for those who are anime nerds, Frosten.
Based.
All three of them are very intelligent,
Even
very
Ronin?
good at what they do. Yeah, a little bit of Ronin.
I was saying Ronin was just
There's
idiot.
probably going to be some stupid stuff done.
I was saying Ronin would just kill, eat. Fuck.
Oh, no. If you look at a lot of the stuff that he does, he cares more about his people than anything.
Yeah, and he obviously knows his way around like hunting and like tracking and shit. And once again, intelligence is not based off book smarts. God forbid intelligence is based only off book smarts. I gotta realize that. Ugh. God help us with the only.
Oh, it was explained to me one way with you can have knowledge and lack intelligence. Because intelligence is knowing how to apply your knowledge.
Yeah.
Wisdom, knowing when to apply it.
Right. Yeah. Hey, we need to take a break for. Can I take a break for 5 minutes? I need to go take care of something. I'll be right back.
Yeah, man.